Somewhere in your home, there's a device quieter than almost everyone in your life, yet stronger than most of the decisions you make about money. A thermostat. You set it to 72 degrees. And no matter what happens, the door opens, the sun comes through the window, the heating shuts off for an hour. It does everything in its power to bring the temperature back to that exact number. Not higher, not lower. It doesn't ask whether you'd like 78 today. It simply restores what it considers normal. Now here's the question. What if your bank account has the exact same device installed? A bonus comes in, and a month later it's gone. A client pays more than usual, and that same month the car breaks down. Someone gives you a large gift of money, and it disappears into things you can barely remember buying. Different circumstances every time. Same result, the balance returns to where it always was. To its own room temperature. That's not bad luck, and it's not a lack of financial literacy, it's a thermostat. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how it works, and more importantly, how to recalibrate it carefully. Not in one forceful jump, not through sheer willpower. The way a good engineer would do it, gradually with evidence, one step at a time. Does this pattern sound familiar? Money comes in, unexpectedly, deservedly, however it arrives. And within a few weeks, something happens that takes almost the exact same amount back out. Sometimes it looks like pure coincidence. The appliance breaks down right now, a distant acquaintance asks to borrow money right now, an unplanned bill shows up right now. And sometimes it looks like your own decision. You suddenly decide you urgently need to buy something you couldn't afford before. And now somehow you urgently can. Most people write this off as bad luck. Or they start blaming themselves for being bad with money, too impulsive, not disciplined enough. But here's what matters. Discipline has almost nothing to do with it. You can keep a perfect spreadsheet, you can read 10 books on financial literacy, and you'll still keep returning to the same number in your account because a budget operates on the conscious mind. The thermostat we're talking about sits much deeper, in a place where conscious decisions barely have any power at all. Financial psychologists who study this phenomenon call these patterns money scripts, unconscious rules about how much you're allowed to have, written long before you ever earned a paycheck of your own. These scripts show up in people across completely different income levels, from those barely making it through the month to those earning millions. The number is different, the mechanism is the same. And these rules execute automatically. No discussion, no vote. They simply run every time the balance drifts too far from what's familiar. The same thing happens at the level of income, not just savings. Someone earns roughly the same amount for years, even while changing jobs, raising their prices, landing new clients. Every time income starts climbing past the usual ceiling, something happens that pulls it back down. A major client leaves, a great deal falls through, an inexplicable wave of exhaustion and procrastination hits at the exact moment a decisive move is needed. The thermostat doesn't distinguish between a bank balance and a monthly income. It guards any familiar number with equal devotion. What makes this so disorienting is that from the outside it looks like chaos, one coincidence after another, unrelated to each other. But on the inside, it isn't chaos at all. It's a remarkably consistent, orderly system. Just one that's calibrated to a different target than the one you're consciously aiming for. Psychologist Gay Hendricks described a sharper version of this same phenomenon and called it the upper limit problem. He noticed that many people carry an invisible ceiling, not just on money, but on success, relationships, recognition. And the strangest part of his observation is this. As people approach that ceiling, they don't feel joy or relief. They feel anxiety. A faint, unexplainable sense that something is about to go wrong. And often, without realizing it, they do something that makes that feeling come true. It's the same story, just seen from a different angle. The thermostat isn't only about money. It's about any area of life where there's an invisible, never-spoken limit on how much you're allowed to have. In a few minutes, I'll show you 3 concrete steps to move that limit. But first, you need to see exactly where it came from. Otherwise, even the right technique only holds for a couple of days before sliding back. Where does this number, your personal thermostat, actually come from? It forms in childhood, Not from one specific lesson someone deliberately taught you, but from the general feeling that filled the home you grew up in. How much money felt normal? What happened when there was more than usual? Did people relax or did they get more tense? What happened when there was less? Was it a disaster or just another ordinary month that somehow got through? The body doesn't remember numbers, the body remembers sensation. And that sensation becomes your room temperature for the rest of your adult life until you consciously revisit it. Picture someone who grew up in a home where money was either never discussed out loud or only came up in raised voices late at night after the kids were supposed to be asleep but could hear everything through the wall. Where having more than usual almost always preceded some kind of conflict, a loan never repaid, money spent on the wrong thing, a fight over an inheritance. That person, as an adult, might earn far more than their parents ever did. But the moment their balance crosses that familiar threshold, a faint anxiety switches on, a tightening in the chest or stomach, and without ever reaching conscious thought, it starts looking for a way out. Spend it, lend it, accidentally miss a payment, get pulled into a bad deal. Any way back to the familiar number where, oddly enough, it feels safe. This is homeostasis, the same mechanism the body uses to regulate temperature, weight, blood sugar. A system that resists change, even desirable change, simply because it's new, and to the older parts of the brain, new reads as potentially dangerous. There's nothing supernatural about it. It's basic survival physiology, just aimed slightly off target right now. If this sounds too abstract, don't take my word for it. In a few minutes, in the practice, you'll be able to feel this in your own body tonight. This isn't a theory asking you to believe it. It's a mechanism you can test on yourself. This goes deeper than mechanics, though. It's about who you believe yourself to be beneath conscious thought. Ancient traditions called this fate. You receive not what you deserve, but what matches your inner state. Modern nervous system psychology says the same thing differently. The body holds on to circumstances that confirm what it already believes about you. If a quiet belief lives inside you that says, "I'm not allowed to have noticeably more than my parents had," the outer world will agree with it. Not because some force is punishing you on purpose, but because you, without ever noticing it, keep choosing actions that return the balance to the familiar truth about yourself. This is why a single wealth visualization or a loudly repeated affirmation like "I deserve more" almost never moves the thermostat on its own. You say the words with your conscious mind, but the thermostat lives in the nervous system, in a zone words rarely reach. It's like shouting instructions to someone in another room with the door closed. The words are correct. Volume doesn't help. You have to reach it differently, through the body, through repeated experience, not the sound of words. The good news, the thermostat isn't a life sentence. It's just a setting, and settings can change. Not through one explosive burst of effort. The body reads sudden jumps as a threat and resists harder than anything else. But gradually, through repeated, safe exposure to the new number. The same way a coach raises the weight on a barbell, not from 20 pounds to 200 in one session, but little by little, letting the body adjust to each level before moving on. Here's how to actually do this. 3 steps. Simple, but they require a bit of honesty with yourself. Step 1. Find your thermostat. Sit down calmly. Place a hand on your chest or your stomach, somewhere you can physically feel your own breathing. Take a few slow breaths through your nose. Now, without judgment, honestly name, out loud or on paper, the number your balance usually settles back to after any fluctuation. Not your dream number. Not what should be true by someone else's standard. The real familiar number that life keeps stubbornly returning you to. That's your current thermostat setting. Simply seeing it and naming it plainly is already the first step toward no longer obeying it unconsciously. Step 2. Calibrate by 1 degree, not 10. Don't try to leap from your familiar number straight to your dream number in a single day. Your body reads that jump as a threat and defends itself harder than before. Instead, pick one small concrete action for today that sits just above your usual level. Leave a slightly bigger tip. Buy the better version instead of the cheapest. Quote a price a little higher than usual. Small but real, not imagined. It shouldn't be terrifying, just slightly outside your comfort zone. Step 3. Keep an evidence log. Every evening for the next 30 days, Write down one money-related moment from the day that passed without disaster. Not "I made a fortune." That's too far from the familiar zone for the brain to believe. Instead, a quiet, almost unremarkable piece of evidence. "I spent a bit more than I usually would, and nothing bad happened. I quoted a higher price than usual, and it was accepted without pushback. There was more left in my account by this point in the month than usual, and the anxiety didn't show up." This isn't positive thinking, and it isn't affirmations. It's a methodical collection of facts for a nervous system that only trusts facts repeated often enough. The thermostat doesn't recalibrate from one nice thought. It recalibrates from accumulated experience that proves, again and again, that the new temperature is safe. After 30 days of small, repeated evidence, the body gradually starts holding a slightly higher level as the new normal. Not because you forced yourself to believe it through willpower, but because you gave it enough real experience to believe it on its own terms. One more thing about this process. Almost everyone hits a setback somewhere in the middle. The anxiety comes back stronger than at the start. A sudden urge shows up to spend it, give it away, quit and return to the familiar number. That's not failure. It's the thermostat sensing its setting is being changed, pushing back harder before it gives in. Knowing this ahead of time means the setback won't knock you off course. You just keep logging the evidence day after day. If, listening to this, you just recognized your own thermostat, the familiar number everything keeps so stubbornly returning to, write one word in the comments. Not the number itself, just what you felt inside the moment you recognized it. This is the first part of a bigger theme, how the body keeps money on a leash and how to let it go. Next time, why you keep choosing the partners, jobs and deals that confirm your old number. If you want to catch the rest of this series, subscribe so you don't miss the next part. Until next time. Ni Chazana visual scenes, B-roll guide for assembly, Chai 70% stock plus 30% cling, 00002, 0 hook thermostat, close-up of a wall thermostat, hand adjusting it, then a phone with a banking app. Stock 0204 30, problem, broken appliance, bills on a table, someone counting money. Stock 0430 07 0. Childhood where the number comes from. Silhouettes of a tense conversation at a table, a child listening through the wall. Cling needs a specific emotional scene not findable in stock. 07 009 30 Homeostasis Hendrix. Abstract visualization, a scale, a pendulum, something returning to balance. Cling 0930 Tadata 13 Ugadatum practice, hand on chest, stomach, calm breathing, someone writing in a notebook at night. Stock at 13 no end, CTA, calm shot, sunrise window, CTA text overlay. Stock